The investments that made Jay-Z a billionaire. Brooklyn's own Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, officially became hip-hop's first billionaire earlier this year, and even if you were to just look at his music career, you'd see a whole lot of dollar signs. He has 22 Grammys, 14 #1 albums, and over 125 million records sold worldwide. Yet rappers that have sold more albums than him have a significantly lower net worth, like Eminem, who's sitting around $200 million according to Forbes. Why is that? Well, the majority of Jay-Z's net worth came from his lucrative investments in business ventures. While other rappers of his class are less interested in business and more inclined to just work on their artistry, Jay has showed time and time again that his main passion lies within being a businessman. From clothing brands to liquor companies, here are some of the investments that helped Jay-Z become hip-hop's one true mogul, as well as some that didn't go as well as he had hoped. Before we start the video, make sure you click the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Number 8. Jet Smarter. One of the more lucrative ventures in Hov's catalog is the Uber of private jets known as Jet Smarter, the app that a lot of your favorite rappers use to flex in the private jet they don't own. In July of 2015, Jay-Z invested an undisclosed amount of money into the jet-sharing startup. Originally developed by Sergey Petrosov, the app itself is free. It's staying a member that will really burn a hole in your wallet. You'd have to pay $15,000 just to get initiated, and then another 11.5 grand after every year for the service. But hey, where there's a demand, there's a market, leaving us to gawk at the lifestyles of the rich and famous. While we don't know exactly how much Jay-Z is invested, but it is known that the startup landed a $105 million expansion of its services, with the company itself being valued at around $1.6 billion. That's some serious dough. Perhaps even crazier, this is not a unique startup, and a full market exists for these sorts of services. I can only imagine Jay-Z trying to decide between the Uber versus the Lyft of the skies. Number 7. Art. Hova has been known as a connoisseur of fine art since before he could even afford it. A lot of us probably remember back in 2014 when Drake aptly pointed out that it's like Jay can't drop bars without at least 4 art references. With bars that reference acclaimed artists from Picasso to Andy Warhol, it only makes sense that the mogul would cultivate an art collection of his own. Forbes estimated that Jay-Z's art collection is valued at approximately $70 million. He has spent upwards of $4.5 million on a single piece, specifically on Basquiat's 1982 Mecca piece, which depicts New York City's skyline.
Most kings get their head cut off.
Yeah, I'm inspired by, life and all sorts of things. You can say something right now and it would inspire me to write a song or something to happen. Most kings just happen to be inspired by a Basquiat drawing, the drawing, and he had the most young kings get their head cut off on the bottom. And I looked at that and I was like, it's powerful. Just the statement in itself, lends itself for a song. The song starts inspired by Basquiat.
The beautiful thing about art is once you hit a certain point, it starts gaining value over time. And nobody knows that better than Hova himself. As he raps about on The Story of OJ, he apparently bought some artwork for $1 million, 2 years later it was worth $2 million, and a few years later that blank was worth $8 million. Number 6. Julep. But for every success, there are plenty more duds. You can't win them all, and Jay-Z felt the burn when he invested in beauty product company Julep. Featuring over 300 new products each year sold through subscription boxes, the startup raked in over $70 million in funds from venture capitalists, and Hov was at the forefront of the company's cult following. Other high-profile investors included Will Smith and Howard Schultz of Starbucks fortune. Business was booming in 2013, and Jay-Z's $10 million investment seemed to be worth it, but sales would stagnate in 2014, and the company would lay off over 100 workers before filing for bankruptcy in 2018. 11 years in, the product was defunct, and just like that, Jay-Z lost his investment. Maybe this was a miscalculated move on his part because he's not very well versed in the beauty and makeup industry. Or you could chalk it up to bad luck. Who knows? Number 5. Rocawear. One of Hov's most famous brands, as well as one of his oldest, is Rocawear, which was started in 1999 with business partner turned enemy Dame Dash, producing all sorts of clothes and accessories from socks to belts to handbags and sunglasses. The company was raking in over $700 million annually when he sold the rights of the brand to Iconics for $204 million cash in 2007. Iconics is a company that essentially buys the rights to other brands and rakes in the dough, and owns such brands as Zoo York, Starter, and Echo Unlimited. Jay-Z didn't lose his brand entirely though. He still maintains ownership in the Rocawear operating company, which manufactures the clothes, and also still handles marketing and product development. Not a bad payday, and Hove still gets to rake in the cash from the clothing empire he founded off the success of his record label. My question is, do people still buy Rocawear in 2019? I can't say I've seen it. Number 4, Uber.
Best investment advice that you ever received? What was it? Do you remember? Whether it was in the market or just investing in life and in business?
Yeah, I think just doing things that you believe in, things that you understand. I think that's the best investment. I heard Warren Buffett say that just the other day. And I just innately felt that, just invest in things that you understand.
As it turns out, Jay-Z's investment in JetSmarter was not his first rodeo with ride-sharing companies. In fact, he was making some serious moves to not only get in on Uber, but secure himself a large stake in it. Back in 2013, just as Uber was about to hit the ground running, Jay-Z agreed to invest $2 million in the company, and then wired Uber an extra $3 million in hopes that he would get a larger stake. Bold strategy, but it didn't pay off. While Uber respected the audacious move, they ultimately declined and returned the difference. Still though, it was a pretty baller move, and it still turned out fine for him. Today, that $2 million investment is worth around $70 million. That's a 35-fold return. I bet he wishes they would have accepted that extra money he sent, as that would have been an extra $100 million added to his net worth. Number 3, Tidal. One of Jay-Z's more well-known brands, although no one is exactly sure what for, was when he invested in Tidal, a music streaming platform that was intended to be an artist-friendly service. Partially owned by artists such as Kanye West, Calvin Harris, and of course Hove's wife, Beyonce. Bought for $56 million in 2015, Tidal saw some shaky media coverage and odd quirks, but Jay-Z was still able to establish the platform as a voice in the highly competitive streaming market. What's more, he flipped the initial investment for $200 million only 2 years later, selling a 33% stake in the company to cell phone provider Sprint in early 2017. This venture now represents $100 million in Jay-Z's net worth, a healthy 10%. He still retains his share of the ownership to this day, and for its part, Sprint provided Tidal for free to its 45 million retail customers. Pretty sweet deal if you're on Sprint. But against Apple Music or Spotify, I don't see much of a comparison myself. Some accusations of unethical activity have been made against the company, like that it faked over 300 million streams to inflate Kanye West and Beyonce's album sales numbers. But that hasn't stopped Jay from cashing in on the trend of streaming services. Number 2, D'ussé. Rappers and beverage lines go hand in hand. 50 Cent's Vitamin Water, Diddy's vodka Ciroc, and Jay is not the exception to that rule. He invested in multiple beverage lines, which he helped cultivate and grow, eventually becoming a large portion of his net worth. One of his first ventures into the line of alcohol was when he became the owner of the 40/40 Club, a chain of high-end sports bars started in New York City. Moving past this, he went on to develop his own brand of cognac, D'ussé, which he co-owns with alcohol giant Bacardi. D'ussé is growing at a rapid pace, moving over 200,000 cases of cognac annually, and stocked in thousands of stores across the United States. The venture proved to be very lucrative for him, representing $100 million of his net worth. Number 1, Armand de Brignac. Another wildly successful venture for Jay-Z is his champagne brand known as Armand de Brignac Champagne. In one of the biggest purchases of his financial career, Jay-Z bought the brand in 2014 for $200 million. No, I didn't say that wrong. He dropped the brand $200 million in what was probably the biggest flex any rapper has ever made. Jay-Z has been involved with the brand for much longer, having repped the Golden Bottle champagne in the 2006 music video for Show Me What You Got. Since that initial investment, the Armand de Brignac brand is now worth $310 million of Jay-Z's total net worth. It is easily his most successful venture, and accounts for over 30% of his net worth. Imagine having $300 million, and it isn't even half of your net worth. Pretty crazy, right? Especially for a guy who grew up in one of the most dangerous housing projects in New York. Other big moneymakers for the rap mogul include around $50 million in real estate, $75 million in Roc Nation, which is his entertainment company that manages many high-profile names such as Rihanna, Meek Mill, and Megan Thee Stallion, and around $75 million in his own music catalog. With $1 billion to his name, Jay-Z can rightfully claim the throne as the best hustler to ever do it. At least in hip-hop. Do you guys think any rapper will have a net worth that surpasses Jay-Z's? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you leave the video, make sure you click the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.